Greetings once again, my friends, for another episode of Why We Geek, a sub-podcast within the Geek News Reviews and Opinions podcast where we talk specific angles of geekdom, specific fandoms, and we sit down with absolute fans of those fandoms. I've said fan a lot in this last sentence, and I'm okay with it. But we go in depth, in detail to say, you know, what makes these so awesome and what makes it awesome to be a passionate geek about this property. And today, like with our previous episode with Disney, this was another one that we needed to take on. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my panel before we go into that subject matter. Being joined by the Disney panel as well. So I'm of course, your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's had a good holiday weekend. For us, it's just been busy. I also have my wife, Andrea Mickelson, on here too. So how are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing fine.
Especially with the subject matter we're about to go into.
Oh, yes. I'm excited.
And then also I'm being joined once again by my cousin Lizzie Mickelson, who also is an expert in this regard as well. I would dare say my wife's probably a little further in than you.
No, I will.
We're going to be challenging each other.
We're going to have a duel?
I don't. I think she's got the one up on me. And I don't say that a lot. Disney, no. Harry Potter, I'm like, I respect you and your knowledge.
Yes,
I'm at that point.
She reads everything Harry Potter.
Hey, I'll take that, you know.
And of course, if you haven't figured this out, we are talking about the Harry Potter universe, the Harry Potter fandom. Holy crap, we've actually seen a return of the Harry Potter fandom with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and its upcoming 5 sequels. It's literally signed for 5 sequels. So Warner Brothers, I think, I can safely say, has lost faith in the DC movies.
They've switched over.
They really have, and that's sad too, because I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman and Justice League just because of the difference in tone. It's not Zack Snyder anymore. So with that, we have our panel set here, and it is only appropriate for us to go into the moment that made us a Harry Potter fan. And so yeah, we're dipping in the Harry Potter universe, people. I'm going to go with the expert here. Andrea, what was your what was the moment that made you a Harry Potter fan, that you had to see this book series all the way through? You had to get the games, you had to do all that.
Oh, well, you know, the way I got into Harry Potter was my little brother, Alex, the Shadow Blazer. He started getting into the series before me because while he was in school, his teacher was either, you know, they were reading the Harry Potter series, at least one of the books. So then I asked my brother, what kind of a story is this? And he was trying to explain to me. And I haven't gotten into the thought of that, but as soon as when the first movie was coming out, I decided, well, what the heck, I will go take him to see it. Maybe I might find something interesting in it. Ever since then, I started getting more curious and curious all the time. And this is probably the most common way people get into the Harry Potter series, is sometimes they get into the movies. And then ever since then, I've enjoyed the series. I've wanted to play the games. I wanted to read every book known to man.
And by that, we mean you read the What If books too.
Oh yeah, the What If books.
When there was these long lulls between the books. Granted, she read them, but then she would also, years later, read the What If books to see whether or not they were right.
Oh, yeah. I even read those just for the heck of it, you know? And I even listen to the podcasts. And the 2 most big podcasts I've enjoyed was Pottercast and Mugglecast. All right.
And I guess I'll go next because mine is connected to you because my fandom to this franchise is blamed on you. So I originally, because around high school was when I think, what was it, second book had come out by that point, or was it third? And I had a couple of friends that were reading it, but as people might have been able to tell from the Geek News podcast, I was a little bit of a cough, douche, nozzle, cough, cough as a high school kid. And I wrote off Harry Potter as being too kiddie for me. So I never read it. And here's the thing, the irony of this is I hadn't read a book since read a book series since I was 10. It was Lord of the Rings. I read Lord of the Rings all the way through. I'm like, nothing ever beats Lord of the Rings. And then funniest thing, as soon as Harry Potter happens, I find 3 other series that do, or at least are comparable. And then the Lord of the Rings movies happened. And I made such an impassioned argument for you to go see the Fellowship of the Ring. And it eventually ended, but she also made an impassioned argument for me to go see the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh, so it was like a trade type deal here?
Here's the thing. It became a bet.
Ah.
So I had to go see the Sorcerer's Stone. And if I liked it, I had to read the books.
Well, I don't think we agreed that you would have to read the books. I just said, basically, I will go see Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring with you, and you would have to go see the Sorcerer's Stone with me. But that was it. And it was basically your choice to continue with the books.
Well, I honored this bet that maybe I made on my own. and here's the thing. I don't read books. I'm more of an audio kind of listener. So I did the audiobooks of, I think at that point, book 4 had come out. So we had up to 4. And I listened to the books, and from there I was hooked. And it wasn't even the first movie that hooked me; it was more the second movie that did.
Probably.
So at that point, we actually got ourselves into the opposing fandom. So I got into Harry Potter, and then you got into Lord of the Rings. So that's how that worked out. Lizzie, what was your defining moment that made you a Harry Potter fan?
Well, kind of like you, I was one of those people who's like, oh my gosh, everybody won't shut up about this Harry Potter. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. Wait for it to blow over. I still do that today because I'm an evil human being. But so I wait until the dust has settled down a little bit. And then I think I saw the first movie before reading the books because I was a kid. I got scared easily. Very easily. So I thought, the Lord of the Rings was too scary for me.
Okay, I can understand that.
And and my mom was like, Harry Potter can be a training because she loves Lord of the Rings. So she's like, okay, well, maybe Harry Potter, let's see how you do in the first Harry Potter movie. I was like, okay,
See, if your mom had only met me 10 years before, I could have quoted Elvish too.
I know. But then, so we went to the Harry Potter movie and I was like, whoa, like this. I hadn't seen, if you've listened to the previous episode, magic is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And I hadn't felt that sense of wonder and magic since, my first Disney days, and nothing had come out kind of on par with that depiction of magic.
Nothing had been as whimsical
as
Disney had been until Harry Potter.
So when that finally happened, I was like, oh dear. So then, hit the books, go, as soon as I remember reading them, and then having to wait forever for the next one to come out and just being like, what's going to happen? I have to know.
Oh, the 5th one was...
See, and she dragged me to the midnight releases, so...
No, I remember the midnight release for the 7th, and I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. And it was like one of those marathon things where it's like, ready, set, go, and just reading the book and you're like, oh.
Yeah, because we went with my older brother to the 7th release. We even cosplayed for it.
Yes.
Because we had her brother going as Severus Snape, and she went, and her and me did a unique one where we actually went as Severus's parents.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, we just kind of just say, let's do something original. We didn't want to be like every average Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Right.
You see, we just let's try something unique for once.
And so we dug up every detail we could find on these two characters.
I love it. I love it so much.
We just try to improvise since we really didn't have much to go off. So we just okay, let's just...
You do what you can.
And yet, ironically, the one that won the awards that night was Alex's Severus.
No, he didn't win. It was the Trelawney that won.
Oh, that's right. It was the Professor Trelawney that was there. So she was literally
Alex
Emma
was
Thompson.
Close, but
she was almost literally Emma Thompson.
Mm-hmm. If you can get a good Trelawney, it's pretty hard to beat an on-point Trelawney.
Exactly. So that's that first moment. Now, the next question that I want to get into is, which is better to you, the books or the movies? Do you think the books have a better tone to you, or do you think the movies do? And with those movies, I would actually expand into Fantastic Beasts. Do you like the tone that's happening there?
I have to go with books. There's so much in the books, and I totally understand. You have this much, this amount of time for a movie. You got to get the major arc in. You got to get these characters in.
Yeah.
And then you miss some of the rich details, or even some of my favorite characters don't even make it into the movies, and I was devastated.
Or they make it in there for 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then you're like, but come back.
Exactly.
There's
like the perfect example that I can think of is Tonks.
Oh.
Tonks is so pivotal in the books, and she's got maybe 20 minutes of screen time total between the movies she was in.
No, and when they cut Peeves entirely,
Yes.
I died inside. I was just like, but no, like these are characters that do have an effect on this story, you know, if it's not blatantly obvious, you know, if it's not just, you know, Harry, that level that Harry and Voldemort are fighting, you know, but these characters, they do have an impact. They do have stories that are relatable and that you can find humor in, and I hate it when they disappear. So I have to go with books.
Yeah. I'm actually there with you, and one of the main reasons is the movies. I actually think like the movies are a perfect example of the worst adaptations that can be done because so many facts were left out, and some of the casting choices actually legitimately bothered me. In particular, Slugworth. Slugworth bothered me because I already had my actor picked that should have played him, and he would have been the perfect of why did you join the Slug Club, Harry Potter? And he was unfortunately, I found out later, he was unfortunately busy doing something else.
Oh, dang it.
But he would have been perfect. He was like I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's a Scottish actor, and he would have been perfect for Slughorn. Slugworth is
I was like,
Willy Wonka.
I was like,
What
Slugworth.
the heck? Slughorn. But yeah, I did not like that casting choice. Originally, I didn't like Emma Thompson as Trelawney when it was announced, but then I saw the movie and changed my mind on it. But the books had so much more, and also the movies for the most part they tried to do the darker tone, but they maintained a kid-friendly kind of vibe.
Yeah.
The books went dark.
Nasty.
Absolutely dark. And so at that point, I love the books just that much more compared to the movies. However, I will give credit to Fantastic Beasts. I love that movie. Well, love's a strong word. I like the movie.
I was like, I don't think I've heard you use love when describing a movie hardly ever.
No, that never happens. I like the movie, especially in the concept that we got to deal with an entirely new wizarding world. So like, I have nothing against Hogwarts or anything like that, but I've always wanted to know what like a United States,
Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay, sorry, keep going.
especially a nation that doesn't have a whole lot of steeped mythology to it, that isn't and I want to clarify that, isn't borrowed.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what they would do with it, and I was actually really amazed what they did. In fact, it was way better than what Quidditch World Cup did. So there was an old game, Quidditch World Cup, which basically made us a bunch of rednecks. It was literally a Quidditch field full of hay bales and cowboys.
I
And
don't
was like,
appreciate that.
yeah, it irritated me so bad. But Fantastic Beasts, I will give the credit, because they took a wizarding world that didn't have any kind of mythology to work with whatsoever and made it awesome. Made it great. So, Andrea, your thoughts on like books versus movies? Which one would you hold higher?
Well, definitely the books would be definitely. But I mean, if you were like a person who doesn't read, or, you know, if you had no interest in reading, the movies would probably benefit you, you know, just for entertainment wise, because if you're never going to jump in the books, you'll never know what you're going to really actually miss. Mm-hmm. So the movies would play a part in that. Just because I can understand their viewpoints of how they would integrate a script for a movie, and you can only run it for so long. But if you were like one of those people, like I could sit and watch 5 hours worth of a movie if I had my opportunity. Which is why sometimes I always wish, you know, it would be cool to take the book and make an animated series and put it on like in episodes on TV.
Episodic form.
I would be so going for that.
It's been pitched numerous times.
I know, and I don't know why they never thought about that way.
That's been pitched. There's also a Harry Potter MMO that's been pitched for years, but never got off the ground. There's been lots of formats that they.
You know, there's so many things you could do with it, and I bet you anything, if you were to do an animated series, and you can do it any way you want. Maybe you can even integrate everything you want in just like a little mini series or something.
And what makes it even better is like, so I saw the movie first, and then as soon as I got to the audiobooks, I mean, they had such great star power in those movies that when I was listening to these audiobooks, I was literally hearing Maggie Smith as Professor McGonagall.
Oh, absolutely.
I was literally And look, Sir Michael Gamblin, I love you, but I was always hearing Richard Harris because
I know.
he was the Dumbledore that should have been there. Rest in peace, Richard Harris, man, because you were awesome.
Honestly, he's got to know it too, though. I mean, stepping into a role like that was terrifying.
No, Michael Gamblin has come out many, many, many times
Yeah.
and said, I know exactly what I'm walking into. Richard made this role, and I'm basically filling in for him.
I think he did what he could while still honoring Richard Harris.
Exactly. And I think that's the most that he could have ever done because he wasn't
absolutely.
going to be Richard on camera.
No.
But I at least was happy with the way he portrayed Dumbledore in those finer action-y moments, which here's the thing. When movie 5 came around, Richard Harris was way older than Michael Gamblin. He couldn't have pulled that off.
Not in the
we
slightest.
would have had a Christopher Lee Saruman moment in the Hobbit movies, all right? Where it's like, that poor stunt guy, he's never going to get remembered for this because it's always going to be Richard Harris remembered for doing it.
Bless them.
So at that point, so we've had movies versus all that, but now we're going to get into...
Well, I would just say also, Fantastic Beasts was really great, especially since it did not really have a story to support it. So you can go in and enjoy it, and nobody's going to criticize it very much because you have no canon in the books to really base off of.
I would agree, but there was one beef I had with it. There was one beef I had with Fantastic Beasts, and it's a minor one, but I'm going to state it, and by the time this comes out, spoilers have already happened. So I'm not too worried about that, but my biggest problem was I did not like the Grindelwald reveal at the end. And the reason I didn't was because they had done so much in the movie to say that Grindelwald had followers, that he had his own cult that was following his beliefs, and that they had infiltrated the U.S. wizarding world.
Well, that depends if
I
he really
kind of
did.
wish that Colin Farrell had instead been a follower, not Grindelwald in disguise.
Well, we don't even know if he had followers, really.
No, I'm saying the movie pitched that he did. And so at that point, that would have been awesome to be able to say, oh, look, that's Death Eaters 1.0.
That's true.
That would have been cool.
That would have been a great thing to do. Nothing against Johnny Depp. I think he's a great actor, but I think that would have been a better direction to go into it and say that, it's not just one guy. It is many.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how that picks up in future
exactly.
installments.
Exactly, because we already know that Johnny Depp will have a bigger presence in movie 2. So with that, the next question that I want to get into is, and it's got to be asked, like, what is your favorite book / movie? I'm gonna say / movie too, just in case. Favorite book / movie, and then also worst movie or book. Like, what is the one that you felt fell flat on its butt, kind of thing.
Okay.
And for me, whew, boy, people are gonna get so mad at me.
I'm
but
so excited right now.
my worst is The Sorcerer's Stone.
The book or the movie?
I would say both.
You could just... well, I guess you can.
I would say both. And the main reason is I get that it's setting up circumstances, but one of the reasons that I love the Harry Potter series, and I'm saying this in retrospect, I've read all 7 books. I love the mythology that goes behind the Harry Potter series. And look, book and movie 1 don't really have that because 80% of it is setting up the characters. And while I get that that's an essential part, that's not what I liked about it. I love the mythology behind, like, movie 2 is one of my favorites because of the fact that they went into the history of Hogwarts and already tried to show, like, there's so much mythology behind this school. It's been around for hundreds of years. So my worst is The Sorcerer's Stone for both book and movie. My best, again, this is going to be another controversial pick, is The Prisoner of Azkaban. Both. Because that to me is when I got hooked. Like, I had read book 1 and 2 and I was like, I'm going through the paces. Then book 3 happened and I was immediately hooked. I immediately got put into a storyline that I cared about. I was given a character to care about who was then promptly killed 2 books later. Because I love Sirius Black and Sirius Black is awesome. And anybody who tells me different, you know what you did. So yeah, my best is Prisoner of Azkaban and my worst is Sorcerer's Stone. Andrea, your best and worst of Harry Potter.
Probably my least favorite would probably be Order of the Phoenix. Just because, I mean, it was a great story, but it just felt like it was kind of like the black sheep of the whole
Emo Harry. Emo Harry kills that book.
Yeah, with him,
You guys didn't write to me. You guys didn't do this. You guys didn't do that. I'm the chosen one. I'm Emo Potter.
And it just felt like that whole thing kind of dragged and like
Yes.
I don't know. It just seemed like it didn't seem to fit very well. I mean, it was an okay story, but it just been like,
Yeah.
like depressing.
The only reason that I would put Order of the Phoenix higher is because we did get the fight in the Mysteries area.
That's what.
We got Order of the Phoenix versus Death Eaters, and
that's what saves that story.
Oh yeah,
And then sucker punch to the heart.
And having to deal with Umbridge the whole entire.
Oh my!
I mean,
gosh.
it was very funny, but at the same time, it's like, man, it just felt like it killed the mood there.
Yeah.
But my favorite would definitely be Deathly Hallows because there's so many elements from every book integrated into that, and just the whole hunt for the Horcruxes.
Yeah.
It just really
I get it.
made the
Adam
story.
is struggling.
No, I get it. I get it because I like the Hallows too, but especially since that was basically Harry Potter trying to create its own mythos.
And it's really fun to just reread even Deathly Hallows and see how did that got it. You just missed so much things from every single book that you're like, oh, now it makes a lot more sense.
I guess my only beef with the Hallows now is that I really wish they'd been integrated into the other books. Like there had been hintings that we were maybe hinting more that the invisibility cloak was more than we thought it was.
Well, that's the thing, because you couldn't really integrate it the other way unless, I mean, you would know from that perspective now that you say, but you wouldn't have been able to early on because we wouldn't have known what happened.
No, what I'm saying is I want bigger hintings. I wanted to have like Dumbledore with the emblem of the Hallows, and just because, I mean, for crying out loud, Xenophilius Lovegood walked around with that pendant and nobody knew. So at that point, it would have been a great thing to actually see Michael Gambling walk around with that around his neck, and everybody go, "What's that?" kind of thing. Just to hint at it. But I get that. Like, Deathly Hallows is a great way to be able to end the series, especially with the fact that we had like this, for lack of a better term, a magical nuclear weapon kind of thing, and for it to end the way that it did. Although I think the movie took its own liberty. Because I don't remember in the book Harry destroying the Elder Wand. I remember him keeping it.
In the book, technically, he didn't really destroy it. He returned it back to Dumbledore's grave.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I don't
He
know.
didn't do the whole dramatic snap in half.
Yeah, that in the movie actually kind of irritated me. Like
He first fixed his wand with the Elder Wand, and then he returned it to Dumbledore's grave.
yeah. Lizzie,
Yes.
the best and worst the Harry Potter series has to offer.
I have to agree with Angie on the worst. I mean, Order of the Phoenix is just.
I'm kind of there with you guys too, but like I said, there is that one redeeming factor.
No, and that battle, legendary.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's, face to face, here we go. Like, this is gearing up to something big, and you know it.
Yeah.
But the other, majority of the novel and of the movie, you're just kind of like, Umbridge is awful. Okay, we get it. Yay! And plus, the whole emo Potter thing.
Oh, you brought up the other problem I have with Order of the Phoenix. I can't deal with evil Mrs. Brady. Can't do it. See, here's the thing too. Like when I read that book, I was like thinking stereotypical witch.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it really was like big nose, wart on the nose kind of thing.
Okay.
And that's who she was. And then they went that angle, and I'm just like, purified true evil.
Speaking of Umbridge, when I first saw her on the screen, she wasn't what I expected. But when I looked at how she was portrayed as, I just was probably like if I was one of the students in there, I'd be like, what? Am I wanting to see this person right now?
This is evil Mrs. Brady. I mean, I didn't like her in movie 5, but movie 7, having her in that interrogation room actually really worked. So
It did.
I'm not necessarily criticizing them for that. That worked as far as I was concerned. So the next thing that I want to get into.
Do I get to say my favorite?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Excuse me.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this happens to me a lot.
My favorite. Now, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because I remember growing up, everybody said my favorite's Prisoner of Azkaban. Prisoner of Azkaban. Love Sirius. I'm like, yeah, I'm on that train with you. But the one that actually beat it out for me was Goblet of Fire. And I know a lot of people don't say that's their favorite. But the fact that that was kind of the first time we got an idea of how big the wizarding world really was.
Yeah, okay, I'm there with you.
Of, these schools coming from all over the world, it's not just this castle, with everybody with British accents, there's the Bulgarians and the French, and plus, you have the Quidditch, it starts kind of...
Yeah, the Quidditch World Cup where
in the
you actually
beginning,
got to see Ireland.
Irish, yeah. And it all kind of started... my brain just kind of exploded as the world itself exploded, because then even in the trials you started dealing with new creatures and new, we had never been introduced to...
I'll say, that's the first time we dealt with a fully grown dragon.
Yes, it is.
On camera, because we had Norbert, which was cute, but then we never had the full,
terrifying dragons or, the mermaids or, it was a big eye-opener for me. And
holy crap, they went evil mermaids.
Yeah.
We didn't get, everybody thinks the stereotypical mermaid is Ariel kind of thing. Instead, we got, Naga
demon,
from World
nasty.
of Warcraft,
Yeah. No, and so I loved the fourth one just because kind of just clicked in how big everything was.
Was it the book that people didn't like very much, or was it just the movie? Because I thought mostly a lot of people didn't like the movie.
Well,
version.
I know people don't like the movie, and I mean, the year that nobody got a haircut, bless them. But I know...
Hi, my name's Harry Potter, and I'm a Shaggy Doo impersonator.
Oh my gosh, everybody! I was just like, get a haircut!
Yeah.
But, and I know, and I think a lot of people... I think the fourth book would often get overshadowed by the third, or even, as the fifth, sixth, that anticipation of the next ones are coming out. They're going to be better than this. So
yeah.
But I love the fourth.
I'll admit, for the fourth book and movie, I was disappointed in a lot of it, and the main reason I was, because one of the reasons I liked it was the Triwizard Tournament, and kind of go to my point with Fantastic Beasts, I love the fact that we had this French school and we had this Bulgarian school with their own mythologies.
Yes.
To be able to say there's different inspirations for Beauxbatons and different inspirations for Durmstrang. Same thing with Fantastic Beasts. But at the same time, granted, one of the reasons that I was hyped for the fourth movie was, I'll admit it, I was interested in how the Emma Watson character was evolving, because here's the thing, in the books she was a bibliophile up until book 4.
Kind of like a nerd.
Yeah, she was the stereotypical nerd in there until you had that moment at the ball where they gave us the concept of what do they call it? Some kind of robes. Dress robes. And so we actually got to have an image in our heads of an elegant Hermione Granger, which is something we hadn't seen. And the movie was disappointing to me because of this reveal. It wasn't necessarily, and this sounds dumb to me, but I wanted robes. I wanted wizardly robes that looked like a ball gown, that looked like all this stuff. And instead it was just, high school prom kind of thing. Okay. Nothing against Emma. Emma has looked good in each of these movies, but that to me was just I would have loved to have that extension in there and having, wizardly tuxedos and wizardly
interesting
prom gowns. That would have been amazing to me. Just because I'm a D&D guy. I'm a fantasy guy overall, and so any way you want to incorporate wizards, I'm all for it kind of thing. So going into the next one is I want to kind of go into the movies for an extent, because I was bringing up Emma Watson, obviously. As far as the movies are concerned, best character that was portrayed in them. So at that point, I would actually say extend it to which of the original 3 do you think is still awesome? Is still hands out good performances per movie, but then also go into your favorite character throughout and the actor that personified them. For me, in the books, I didn't really care that much, but I did like the evolution of Hermione throughout the movies. Maybe that's because I'm a hopeless romantic and I actually wanted to be able to this. I shipped Harry and Hermione very early on.
Oh, you would. I see that.
I got mad when they put her with Ron, except until book 7. And then it made sense to me and I was okay with it. But I did like the evolution of Emma Watson, but I got to say, my favorite characters throughout, and it's really strictly a tie, but I loved them whenever they were on screen. Honorable mention, obviously, is to Richard Harris. Richard Harris is amazing as Dumbledore, but whenever Maggie Smith
Oh my gosh.
or Alan Rickman
Yes.
came on screen, I was interested. I wanted to know what was going on. Rest in peace, Alan Rickman. So at that point, like, they are obviously my favorite ones. If I were to dare go into a worst, it's not hard for me to figure out. It would be a very strict tie between Dolores Umbridge and Gilderoy Lockhart. I do not like their actor portrayals. I really don't. Evil Miss Brady can't do it. And look, I get why people like Gilderoy. He did a good job, but that's why I don't like him. Because he did a good job. It made me hate. I didn't hate that character so much in book 2 when I was reading through it. He made me hate that character. He really did.
Then he did his job.
Exactly. He did his job as an actor. So Lizzie, who was up there with you on best actors and actresses in there? And also, I'm gonna extend it to worst. Like, who do you think was the worst in there?
So out of the 3, I'm going to go with you and say Hermione. And I think part of that is a personal thing. Like, oh, it's the girl, it's the nerd, it's the the one who...
Well, she was the only one that was the nerd.
Yeah. And just, I relate a lot to that. Or, the girl with the frizzy brown hair. Like, I relate to that, And so I could see, as she grew up, I could kind of see myself in there a lot. But I really enjoyed Emma Watson's portrayal of her. I think, she didn't go too... nerdy to stereotypically, where you see, with glasses, the, shaking in public and stuff. She could have gone that route, but she didn't, and I'm glad she didn't.
I think she actually even said in like an interview that was being considered, and they decided to go against it.
And thank heavens.
Yeah. Because Chris Columbus makes good decisions.
Yes, he does. And just seeing her progression of character, I think she did it very well. As soon as you said favorite, Alan Rickman, hands down. I mean, I
mean, for crying out loud, this guy, like, for as much as we want to applaud him as Snape, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's what made Die Hard for me. I mean, for crying out
honestly,
loud, it's a British man doing an American accent horribly, and yet it
works.
And it's still entertaining.
No.
Yeah, hats off to Alan Rickman, man. Rest in peace. I hope you're having one on us.
I know.
It's amazing.
When that happened this year, I was distraught. Like, that was one of the... Because some celebrities had passed before him, but when he went, I was like, I'm done. Like, no.
Yeah, because he was part of, like, 7 celebrities all in 1 month.
It was nasty.
Away. So he was literally a week after David Bowie.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then after that, we had, like, a bunch of TV actresses, including the mom from...
Brady Bunch?
No, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh,
she passed
yes,
away
that's
too.
right.
And she had an illustrious Hollywood career too. Yeah. And so that was just amazing. Like, we even had the main guy from Grizzly Adams pass away, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was a sad month.
Yeah, but he was the one who got to me. And then same with Dame Maggie Smith. Anything she's in, she is goals for me.
Yeah, she really is.
I mean, and even just her responding in public to things. She is just, I mean, when it's her as a character, I'm just in love with her. And when I first read the book of McGonagall with the severe black hair, and I was ready for that. And then I didn't get that. And I was like, I wonder why. Then she opened her mouth and I was like, that's why. And I'm glad that she was chosen for that part. As far as the worst goes,
which is interesting because I've actually heard, like, a lot of people make impassioned arguments for, like, and I think she would be too. I think she had passed away by this point. Was Angela Lansbury should have played?
She's still alive.
Well, she should have played McGonagall instead of Maggie, and I don't agree.
I don't agree with that at all.
No, because I love Angela, but
she's not.
There were other characters for her to play.
I agree. And as far as worst goes,
in fact, Angela Lansbury should have been Madame Pomfrey. That's what should have happened.
I like that. Oh, and I also have to talk about, as far as David Tennant, I mean, Get Out. He's only in there for a few minutes, but Barty Crouch Jr.
Yeah, I was wondering,
characterization of that, I was like, oh.
Holy crap, I just barely realized I've seen David Tennant quit sooner than I thought I did.
Yeah.
Because I had seen Harry Potter. Like, I thought the first time I'd ever seen... Because David Tennant is doctors.
Yeah, and that's why they're like, oh, it's the doctor. I'm like, frick no, it's Barty Crouch Jr.
Yeah, but for me it was Kilgrave from Jessica Jones, because I've never seen Doctor Who. But yeah, you're right. I'd seen him way before that. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah,
he's a great actor.
And then as far as worst goes, I mean, this is just kind of like a personal thing. I wanted more from Dudley, actually. He felt weak for me.
He had much more of a presence in the books than
he
in the
did.
movies.
And I mean, presence, I mean, you know, the Dudleys are the worst of the worst. They are supposed to be making Harry's life miserable. I think Vernon did a much better job.
Oh yeah, the guy that got to play Vernon Dursley was perfect.
And I wanted that same mean nastiness in Dudley as opposed to just the stupid, fat, spoiled kid.
No. And then but then book 5 happened and we got stereotypical urban kind of.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but having him go around like, well, John Cena Jr. just doesn't work.
I just wanted more from that character.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I feel like we got more out of the books.
Absolutely.
Because we actually got, like in book 7, we got them to part as friends.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, honestly, like when we were reading the books, did you think that was going to happen?
Not in a million years.
No, they were torturing each other, roughly. So at that point, for them to part as friends and actually shake hands, I thought that was a great way to send off that relationship.
Yeah. But I don't know if I wanted more from the actor or more of that relationship in general. I think it's probably a mixture of both. So.
Okay. And then Andrea, the best and worst characters of the books, or I'm going to stick strictly with the movies here, because I mean we're already bringing up
the
like
characters
and all
from
that.
the movies.
Yeah.
I would say Emma is definitely the one that probably made the.
None of us give a crap about Daniel. None of us give a crap about Rupert.
I mean,
Bless them.
Fine, but I think she
Well,
nailed.
don't bless Daniel. Daniel doesn't like the role anymore.
She did a really fantastic job of trying to, balance between, the nerdy side and the,
Yeah.
As for any other child, I would say the person who played Luna Lovegood was the next.
Ooh, good one.
Oh, what was
Okay, I'll give you that, because she had a hard role coming ahead of her.
Well, and do you know how she got it? Like, she wasn't an auditioner or anything. She was battling, I think, anorexia. Was it anorexia? She had an eating disorder, and she went to like this midnight signing, like when the 4th one came out, and met J.K. Rowling and got J.K. Rowling to sign her book and say how inspirational these books had been to her with fighting her inner demons and stuff. And she said, "Oh, I just love, these books." And she's like, "Well, if you get better, you can come audition, come be in the movies."
I did not know that.
That's how she got the role.
I did not know that. That's amazing. I like that.
As for adult characters, I would say Alan Rickman will always be my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because ever since I've seen him play Snape on the first movie, I got so interested on what other kind of roles he did, so I went and watched Die Hard. Have
you not seen Die Hard before that?
I haven't. Well, I've seen bits and pieces, but I never really cared for it. And then I watched, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Snowcake, all the other roles that he has
Galaxy
played.
Quest.
Oh my gosh.
Alan Rickman playing a Klingon, people. You have to see that at least once in your life.
He was a really inspiring actor. And then second would be probably Helena Bonham Carter.
Ooh.
Who played Bellatrix.
How did we even not mention that before?
She was the...
Probably because, unfortunately, like, she's, I get it. She's married to Tim Burton now, and that actually kind of irritates me, because if Tim Burton's going to make a movie, it's pretty much default that, like, Johnny Depp is going to have a role in it, and Helena is. And I love Helena. I've loved her back since Merlin, when I saw her for the first time. And I remember, like, when she got cast as Bellatrix, I applauded up and down. I said, you have to see this woman act, because she is going to get Bellatrix right, and she did.
She did.
She nailed it. She nailed it on levels that I don't even think I expected, especially in movie 7, where she got all torturous.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another one I would probably bring up. Like, Helena was up there in those movies. She did a really great job. But of course, I also have to add things over to crap, I can't remember his name. Sirius Black, who played him.
Gary Oldman?
Gary Oldman.
He also did a good job with Sirius. which is sad because he didn't have a whole lot to work with.
Yeah.
Dang you. The sad part is that after movie 5, after book 5, that's when a lot of people were like, who's going to die next? I was like, thanks. That's Sirius's legacy now. Sirius's legacy is the first guy that died, and now we have to consider who's going to die in the next one. But hey, at least J.K. Rowling isn't George R.R. Martin. Oh, snap.
Oh.
So with that, I actually want to shift things a little bit because we've been talking a lot about the legacy of Harry Potter. But we have new additions to Harry Potter, and I want to get into that too. Specifically, you have seen one of these newest editions. So we have seen Fantastic Beasts, but you have one-upped us because, what was it, in the summer? You went to London.
I did.
And you saw The Cursed Child.
I saw The Cursed Child.
And I should immediately tell you, because the internet will make me tell you are a racist because apparently you like a black Hermione.
And I wrote a paper all about that, so go read it.
Did you really?
Yes.
I want to read this now.
Yeah, no, that was one of my last finals for this last semester. Actually, it was.
Dude, email me this. Email me this. I want to read it.
Oh, I would love to read it too.
I'll send it to you.
Because I immediately would want to send you a story about a similar story that happened in the gaming world this year, where one of my favorite actresses, Laura Bailey, was like an understudy for a character who just so happened to be black. Laura Bailey's white. And the actual actress they were going to get to play this woman, she was like a female mercenary kind of thing. I can't remember what exactly happened, but I believe she either got pregnant or horribly ill.
And so could not do the role.
She had to step out. And so they announced that Laura Bailey would be playing this character. And internet, social justice warrior backlash. She's white. How dare she be playing a black woman? I was like, it's her voice. Does it really matter if she's this skin color? Because she's lending her voice to the character. It does matter because we know that it's a white woman's voice. I'm like, and the same thing happened with Hermione.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we were going to get a black Hermione when we had all been inducted into Emma Watson. And I think even Emma applauded the actress who played Hermione.
Both Emma and JK came out and said, you idiots, quit it out. Like, she is the one for the role.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter the color of her skin. Back off.
Exactly. And that's how that should have been approached. But with that, so we have Fantastic Beasts.
Yes. Its
first movie has debuted.
Yes.
We have 5 sequels set for it. 5. Holy crap.
That's a lot.
The only one that rivals it right now, Lizzie, is Avatar.
Yeah.
Because Avatar has set for 4 sequels. We haven't even had the first sequel yet. We have 4 sequels. Just because people believe in James Cameron that much. So at that point, we have Fantastic Beasts. We also have Cursed Child, and I don't know if you've been hearing the rumblings or not. So the manuscript hit here, and already we're having writers submitting.
Of course we are.
Treatments to bring Cursed Child to theaters. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. Now, I've already made it very clear on my podcast, like when we talked about it at the announcement, this shouldn't happen because here's the thing: a play's manuscript is going to be vastly different than a movie script, and there's a reason that they're written these ways. There's a reason we've never gotten Beauty and the Beast the musical on film, because they are written differently. So at that point, I would be more worried how would you have to take the proverbial hatchet to Cursed Child to be able to bring it to film, and do I want you to do it? And so I've always been against the concept, but now they're already talking about it. Lizzie, what are your thoughts on bringing Cursed Child to theaters?
Cursed Child, okay. You have to start with what came out and what happened. You know, people were going, oh, it's another Harry Potter book by J.K. I'm like, read what it is.
It's a manuscript by J.K. That's it.
And it's not even all by J.K.
No.
Like, it's very clear which pieces are and which pieces aren't. And, so when people got it and they were so disappointed, like, oh, this is nothing like Harry Potter. Of course it's not. It's not meant to be. It is a play script.
Well, the way that I understand this is that basically this is J.K. passing the legacy on to other people to write.
And she talked about it, because I was myself and I was reading all the programs and all the stuff that is sold solely at the Harry Potter Cursed Child gift shop. Yeah. It's all the stuff. There are this is her love, there are pieces in that where these are her love letters to these characters that have grown, she's saying thank you for everything. And honestly, I always, as the theater person I am, get very nervous when someone says, "Oh, we're gonna take this play and turn it into a movie." And I'm like, like, there's so much to think about. And I mean, this script that came out, people were complaining about it. Okay, first off, it's a rehearsal edition, meaning it kept revising, and it still continues to be revised as the show goes on. And it left, because here's what happened. I was reading it on the plane because I didn't think I was going to be able to get to see the show. Yeah. So I read part of it, and then I fell asleep. And then, because that's what I do on planes.
This just in, Harry Potter made you fall asleep. No, I'm kidding.
No, because it's a freaking long plane ride, okay? Yes. And then, but then I stopped reading it, and then I was able to get to see the show, so I stopped reading it.
Yeah.
But the part that I had read, they left out so much of what happens on stage so that, they want people to come see the show. Yeah. They don't want you to just go, "Oh, I get it. I've read the script. We're fine." No, it's a completely different experience sitting in that theater and seeing these characters come to life when you're in the same space as them.
Yeah.
Very different than a book, very different from a script, very different from a movie. And so that's why I'm always hesitant when it comes to adapting plays.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing too that I'm also hesitant about, I don't know if I've already heard of Broadway directors and things like that wanting to get their hands on this play so they can do it here.
It is in transition. Yeah. There is talks. There's a theater that a Cirque du Soleil show is currently in. It's a very old, very, like one of those weathered New York Broadway theaters.
Yeah.
So, and it needs to be redone. So the idea is once Cirque leaves, to knock it down, well, maybe not knock it down, but renovate it to Harry Potter and Cursed Child's specifications so that it can house all of the 10 million special effects and special staging things that this show needs to stay on its feet, and then cast it, get it over to America. Then it'll go through the whole touring ritual. I mean, it's going to be a while before it gets over here, but it'll cross the sea eventually.
Yeah. My only apprehension about that is that if you're going to do it, please bring the writers over.
Oh, absolutely.
Please bring these people over, because I know that in some cases with these plays, they'll write it and they'll hand it off. They don't want anything to do with it after that. This is one of those cases where I think the treatment needs to stay true, and these people need to carry over into the U.S. as well.
From what I understand, it's been the writers are on board, like staying. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, we got to see this through," type thing. Mm-hmm. That's what I understand. I'd be interested to see if the designers do the same thing, because the design of this show is it helps the story so much. Like, you look at the stage and you're like, "Oh, whoa." And it's physical based theater. I don't know how people are going to respond to that. It's not it's not traditional Shakespeare. I will get on the stage and pontificate. You know? All of the transitions are physical based theater.
Yeah, this is not, like, if you think you know what you're walking into, this isn't Death of the Salesman. This isn't Romeo and Juliet. This is a whole new way to be able to tell a play.
And the fact that they use those contemporary theater practices to bring the story to life, I think, did the story more justice than if you would have just gone, "Oh, we're going to do it traditionally," and blah, 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 Yeah. You need that sense of movement to create the magic, the whimsy that goes on. I mean, they use the physical theater to show the duels, and it would not work without it.
No. And it's one of those things where the way that because I haven't read Cursed Child. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for her to see whether or not I want to read it. But the way that I understand the duels work, I don't know if you could reintegrate them to a CGI format, which is what you would have to do for movies.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could do it without them losing meaning to them.
Exactly. And especially with some of the stage directions that are in the script, it doesn't say how it's done. It leaves you up for interpretation. And seeing it on stage is just a magical experience. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's a magical experience. Yeah. And I think you will lose that once you go back to oh, these people, instead of flying on a stage in front of you, they're in front of a green screen. Or, oh, this centaur that is walking toward me on stage is actually CGI. And I think that's going to lose a lot of the magic that came out of the show.
That's the problem, is like some of this stuff is going to get lost in translation, or it's going to have the hatchet taken to it.
Yeah.
So Andrea, your thoughts on bringing Cursed Child into a movie format, or even bringing it here? Do you think that's a good idea?
I would at least would like to see it in some way, shape, or form. Whether if it was going to be movie, I would agree with you that the people who created this story way out in London or wherever, they need to be a part of it, and they need to have a say in how things are going to be integrated. Otherwise, I would wish that, even if the play came to America, so we can have the opportunity, because not all of us are going to have the luck of flying out all the way to London to see it, and as great as reading the manuscript, you just kind of still feel like you're missing a part of, especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, and you don't always get the opportunities to do everything that, everyone else does,
No, exactly.
And you just feel like you just miss out.
But in my opinion, like, since this is written for the stage and written in a unique way, it should stay there.
I agree. Do I think it's going to happen eventually for money's sake?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's Warner Brothers involved. Warner Brothers will Warner Brothers is, like, as much as people don't want to admit this, Warner Brothers is hurting now. It really is. They lost so much with Batman v Superman. They've lost so much with Suicide Squad. They need to make that up either with DC movies coming out next year or with Harry Potter. And right now they're hedging their bets and saying DC's going to fail and putting their chips with Harry Potter. And that's why we have 5 sequels of Fantastic Beasts, because they think that at least the Harry Potter movies can bring that money back in. And that's the sad reality of this, is that since Harry Potter is doing well, Warner Brothers will find a way to adapt Cursed Child because they feel like that's a way for them to get that extra funding they need. Am I saying that's what they should do? No, not by any stretch, but that's what they're going to do.
No, if you ever have the opportunity, because it will come to America. It will. Yes. And then after a while, it's going to tour, because that's how every show works.
Yeah.
You got to see it. It's beautiful. Besides the fact it's Harry Potter, it is a beautiful, breathtaking show that made me laugh, made me cry, made me do all the things I love to do, made you think about things besides the fact that it's Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. From what I understand, it goes out of its way to kind of branch outside of the character of Harry and actually go into other characters that we will care about, including, from what I understand, some new ones too. So.
Absolutely. I mean, it's based around the sons. And it talks about how Harry's son becomes best friends with Draco's son. Yeah. And can they get over that? You know? But, and Draco's son is this nerdy little awkward human. And you're just like, wait, what? And
you get to know Draco Malfoy, but you never get to know what Scorpius is like. And it's like something you don't really see how they could be related.
No, and then seeing why Scorpius is the way that he is. I mean, I was looking up, I got to see the original cast. Mm-hmm. Those actors were phenomenal. Black Hermione included, get off your high horse. Like,
it's SJWs, man. They ain't never getting off the high horse.
Like, oh my gosh. And I agree with JK. She was the best one for the role. She got the character of Hermione. Is it Emma Watson? No. None of them directly copied or mimicked the characters that we had seen on the movies.
Emma wasn't coming back for this.
No. Well, honestly, I'm glad that they didn't.
No. From what I understand, JK intentionally, I think the way we found it, she actually addressed this with the original cast and said, no, we're not going with you.
Yeah.
So now obviously people like Daniel are happy about that because Daniel wants to step away from Harry Potter. Rupert Grint, I have a feeling, might be a little irritated, but Rupert's off doing its own thing. And same thing with Emma.
Yeah.
So at that point, that was the better decision, because then at that point we would have associated it with the movies. And
exactly.
It's a play.
No, but the actors portray the characters. You look on stage, you listen to them. They are those characters from the books.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that they're not the same as the movies. In fact, I quite enjoy it.
Exactly. So, but I agree on that. It needs to stay in a play format. I don't know if it needs to go into a film. I think Warner Brothers will find a way to try to adapt it. Yeah. They shouldn't, but they will. but it should stay in play format. And if it tours, I mean, for crying out loud, if it comes here, then by all means, I'm gonna pay the money to go see it because
worth every penny. Oh, I paid way too much money, but it was so
well,
worth
obviously
it.
you flew to London.
Well, okay, I was already going anyways, and then I just got super lucky.
All right,
it was.
You lucked out in getting tickets.
It was complete luck.
Okay,
honestly,
you're lucky.
Very cool.
Every day I thank my lucky stars. I'm like.
And then finally, I mean, let's get into Fantastic Beasts. Like, I think my personal opinion is it did enough to be able to get me interested in a sequel. So at that point, is it worth the 5 sequels? And that's where I actually find myself conflicted, because the way I see things is you need to earn that sequel. I don't like the concept that James Cameron got handed 4 Avatar sequels. That's dumb to me, because we don't know how well Avatar 2 did, and therefore we don't know if it's going to lend itself to an Avatar 3. So at that point, I think this lends for Fantastic Beasts 2, and I'm interested, especially I would like to see them go more into the Wizarding World, not necessarily just stay in America. I'd love to see Newt Scamander go to other areas of Europe. There's so much mythology throughout all of these cultures that you could go into. My buddy Stephen Romney for the podcast brought up, like, go to China, go to Japan, go to Russia, and see the mythologies that are associated with those areas, and see a Wizarding World based around them. So I'd like to be able to see that happen. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that with this upcoming war with Grindelwald, and also the possibility we might see a younger Dumbledore. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I'm at least somewhat interested as long as they can do it right. Andrea, how do you feel about Fantastic Beasts 2? Like, are you excited for it? Do you think this is something that should be continued on? Maybe you have the same problem I do with 5 sequels already being signed.
Well, I would just have to hope that, each one gets better and better every time. Since we are going in blind, we don't even know what the stories will entail and what his adventures are going to be going into, because, and what exactly are we anticipating if the 5th one comes out? Where's that going to end off, since we don't technically know? Especially since we know we're not going to get books on these. Like, this is screenplay only, and that's how JK wants it. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, do you think it's going to end up to the point where Dumbledore and Grindelwald have their ultimate duel, Is that how it's going to end, Are we going to get this duel on camera? You wonder, because, I mean, it's kind of interesting how Grindelwald ended up going into the story of Newt Scamander's adventures. What's that going to play out? Because you don't just throw in some random character like that into this story when, you wonder how much they were, to be put into this, story. How does Newt Scamander get involved with this whole, with Grindelwald, really, Because mostly it's just Grindelwald, has his own agenda, and then Newt Scamander is basically dealing with magical beast and creating his book. Yeah, exactly. Where are you standing, Lizzie, with the Fantastic Beasts series?
I mean, it is nerve-wracking that they're like, oh, we're gonna do 5, and it's like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
But I think they feel confident that they can do that because there is no canon. There is no book to refer back to. This is creativity going, how far can we push this? I mean, they better get some dang good writers. That's kind of my perspective, is like, don't turn this into something where you just do more just to shove it down our throats, to get another movie out, to make more money. You know, you got to treat each one with care, with love, I mean, this is a very special franchise to lots of people, and they got to do it right.
Exactly. Well, I believe with Fantastic Beasts, they brought in Chris Columbus to advise.
Yeah.
And so Chris Columbus is probably the guy that can find the good writers. And as long as they keep him involved,
we should be okay.
We should be okay, because unfortunately, Warner Brothers, I love you dearly, but a lot of your writers have since left. And what's really sad is, like, the best writers that you have right now are the DC writers. And
that's not going too well.
We have issues with them. Well, the problem was they weren't brought in.
Yeah.
Too. Because Zach had to have whole control over it. Like, I don't know if you heard the whole horror story with Zack Snyder actually brought in crap, I can't remember her name, but the female writer who actually brought Wonder Woman back from the brink, like she was going nowhere in the comics. And they brought her in because she was able to bring Wonder Woman back into the mainstream. And Zack and her didn't hit it off very well at all.
Oh boy.
I know for a fact that she did not like a lot of the Gail Simone. Gail Simone was her name. I know for a fact she did not like a lot of the decisions that was made with Wonder Woman. Now, I've heard she's been brought in for Wonder Woman. So hopefully she'll be able to help out with that concept. But I mean, that's the problem, is Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad didn't really have those writers. Because Jeff Johns hadn't been brought in. Ben Affleck was not in a in-charge position. And so unfortunately, that's their best writers.
Ugh.
But Chris Columbus can help find other writers.
Come on, Warner Brothers. We believe in you.
We believe that you could get this thing done. I don't believe that you can get another Looney Tunes series done anytime soon, which is really sad. But we want to at least have some good memories of you. I'm really hopeful that this year we have nothing but good things to say about Wonder Woman and Justice League and Aquaman. And no, actually, is Aquaman coming out? I think it's the Ben Affleck Batman that's coming out this year. So we have that, but also Fantastic Beasts 2. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen there. Please, Warner Brothers, pull your head out of the stand. Please do it. With that being said, though, we're going to go ahead and need to wrap this up because we're already at time, and that's actually going to go and do it for these 2 pilot episodes of Why We Geek. So first of all, thank you, Lizzie, for coming on and lending your expertise to both of these awesome subjects. So if you guys haven't heard the first episode where we dabbled into Disney, please feel free to do that and leave your commentary there as well. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here because I've been doing it since last year. If you want to see more of Lizzie, like maybe there are some other subjects that Lizzie can bring to the table. I'm not aware of them. But like we've talked Marvel and we've talked Star Wars, but I think that's been about it. But
there's always more in my brain to share.
Indeed. We are finding more about your inner geek, and it is amazing. So if you guys want to see more of Lizzie, let me know in the comments below. Reach out to me and say we want to be able to see more episodes with her. That's going to be the best way for me to be able to know it. And then I will reach out to Lizzie, and we will bring her on for some of these other subjects because there are so many other subjects we're going to get into with Why We Geek. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, Lizzie, how do they do that to give you their feedback on your opinions as well as all of the stuff that you've talked about today?
No, I'd love to hear from y'all. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Everything is Lizzie Mickelson. Just look it up. I'd love to chat with you.
All right. And then also for Andrea, now she actually does a lot of stuff on my channel, so you guys can check that out. She's not really able to make it on the Geek News podcast that often, but I promise we will try and find ways to be able to bring her on. It's work schedule, people. I don't intentionally kick her off. I mean, I'm like, no girls allowed. I don't do that. It's just
no. I have a day job that I've got to do.
She's a big kid.
Well, she's got a day job, but then like on the day that we record, she's in burnout. So at that point, we want to make sure she gets her sleep. But we also do other things aside from that. So she joins us on Drak and Shadow for a lot of the Let's Plays that we do there. And also you and me are playing through the first God of War right now. So you guys can check that out as well as all of the other games that we've played. We're currently working our way through the remake of King's Quest. We also have Last of Us. Welcome to the world of The Last of Us, where everybody's a dick to each other, and so much more. In fact, maybe for Lizzie, we'll also try and find a way to, because you've never played a single Disney game. Now I need to introduce you to so much that you have missed.
I feel like I'm like on the brink of like a whole my world is just gonna open up.
Well, we only brought up Kingdom Hearts, man, but
no, you should.
There's a whole era that I'm aware of that she's not, and that is the Capcom Disney games, which are amazing.
Okay.
No, you should do like a little sneak peek of Kingdom Hearts to her.
Well, maybe we'll link the first part because we'll eventually do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do Kingdom Hearts.
So we'll link that over to you and see what you think of it.
All right.
But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it for us. And obviously, if you guys want to get a hold of me, you're on my channel, obviously. So welcome. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I always do appreciate your feedback and all of the stuff that you guys do for my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at Drak2326 and leave your opinions there. I will get to them as quick as I can. Unlike Lizzie, I am an old fuddy-duddy when it comes to the social media, and Well, let me put it this way: when Governor Rick Perry came out and said tweeter, I was there with him. I'm like, I'm on the tweeter too.
Man.
I'm on the tweeter. So at that point, that's just something you have to deal with. But that's gonna go ahead and do it for Why We Geek. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We have so much more planned and so many other geeky subjects to go into. And of course, we'll see you guys next time.